Okay, let's unpack this. So I was going through all the source material we pulled for this deep dive, and this one core question just kept hitting me again and again.
What's that?
It's this line. Where is the exact line between, a super aggressive, maybe innovative business and just outright fraud? It doesn't seem to matter if it's from the 70s or a crypto token from last week.
That is the central tension, isn't it? And it's such a moving target. I think that's really our mission today, to get into the weeds on the legal and financial tools that try to define that line.
Because the stakes are just massive. You've got regulators applying these, sometimes decades-old definitions to brand new business models.
Absolutely. And how they classify something, whether it's a security or a legitimate sale, can literally determine if a massive fortune is legal or if it's all coming down.
So let's start with a classic case, right? Pyramid scheme. These feel kind of ancient, but the legal framework to nail them down is actually incredibly precise.
It has to be.
We have to start with a foundational standard in the U.S., the Koscot test.
Yeah.
For anyone listening who thinks, I know a pyramid scheme when I see one, what does Koscot specifically look for?
Well, Koscot is so important because it establishes this clean, two-part legal test. It just cuts through all the noise of what the company claims it's selling.
Okay, so part one?
Part one, participants have to pay money for the right to sell a product. And then part two, and this is the real kicker, they receive rewards for recruiting new people.
Right.
And those rewards are explicitly unrelated to the actual sale of the product to, an ultimate user, an end consumer.
It's not about whether there's a real product. It's about who's buying it and why the distributors are actually getting paid.
Exactly.
So if I pay, say, $500 to join and I get a bonus just because I signed you up, and you also had to buy $500 of inventory to join, that's the red flag.
That is the giant red flag. The system just becomes this closed-loop recruiting machine. It's not a retail business at all. The product is just a vehicle to move money up the chain.
So the law is looking for proof that the product is actually getting to people who are not joining the business opportunity.
That's the whole thing. They want to see real customers.
And this is why the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has this whole defensive playbook for multi-level marketing companies to follow if they want to stay on the right side of that line.
It's a survival guide, really, a necessity. To prevent getting labeled a scheme, the FTC strongly encourages companies to get people to enroll as preferred customers, not distributors.
People who just want the product.
People who have zero interest in the business opportunity. That helps prove there's a real outside retail market.
And the tracking requirements are intense.
Yeah.
Right? It's not enough to just say, oh, we sold some stuff.
Not even close. Companies have to mandate the comprehensive tracking of every single retail sale to an end user. If a distributor buys 100 bottles of something, the company needs to know who the final customer was for each one.
Because if 95 of those are just sitting in my garage.
That's not a retail sale, that's inventory loading.
Which ties right into this other big warning sign, the auto ship programs. I saw in the sources they recommend just discontinuing them entirely.
Especially if the amount you're required to buy on auto ship is suspiciously close to the minimum you need to buy to qualify for bonuses.
That's to prevent what they call front loading.
Exactly. If I'm buying product not because my customers need it, but because I have to hit my monthly quota to get paid for recruiting, well, that's not market demand. That's the compensation plan driving the purchases.
And companies are basically told to police themselves, to look for things like strategic buying.
Right, which is just fascinating. They're meant to analyze their own data to see if purchases are all clustered at the end of the month or right around the minimum qualification level.
Because that signals people are buying just enough to keep their status, not to fulfill real orders.
And if the buying behavior is driven by the company's internal rules instead of, genuine customer need, the legal system sees that as pretty clear evidence the company is rewarding recruiting over retail.
This line is so fraught with drama, it spills over into the public markets. We saw this with Herbalife.
Oh, that was a massive spectacle. You had Bill Ackman's hedge fund, Pershing Square, taking this enormous billion-dollar short position.
Betting the whole company was a pyramid scheme that would just collapse.
He was sure regulators would shut it down.
But they never quite did. At least not in the way he thought they would.
Correct. The FTC came in and forced Herbalife to implement all those controls we just talked about, proving retail sales, changing compensation, but they did not label it an illegal pyramid scheme outright.
So Ackman's bet just failed spectacularly.
A massive loss for Pershing Square. They had to liquidate the short. It just goes to show how even huge, publicly traded traded companies can operate right on that legal edge. One ruling can make or break a multi-billion-dollar bet.
Okay, so that's the world of physical goods. But here is where it gets, I think, really interesting. If tracking inventory is the solution there, how on earth do you track fraud when the assets are purely digital, like crypto tokens?
That is the frontier. It's a dizzying problem for regulators everywhere. And what's funny is the technology itself has so much potential for, traditional finance.
Right, I saw that. Blockchain could be used to run a stock ledger under German law, for instance.
And this idea of smart shares is completely conceivable. You could transfer shares peer-to-peer automatically with no middleman.
But then our source material brings us right back to reality with this brilliant quote. To err is human, but to really foul things up requires a computer.
It's the perfect warning. No matter how smart the code is, humans are still writing the rules, setting the parameters, and, humans make mistakes. And they manipulate things.
And regulators are just scrambling to figure out which old buckets these new assets fit into. In the EU, you have this MiFID regulation.
Right.
And it defines securities by type. Shares, bonds, etc. And then it has this catch-all. Other securities equivalent to shares. But what does equivalent even mean for a crypto token?
And that's the core of the legal uncertainty in Europe. MiFID US doesn't give clear guidance on what the standard of comparison is. What's the tertium comparison is the third thing to compare to. Is it voting rights? Tradability? The chance for profit? No one really knows.
So if you're a developer in Europe, it's almost impossible to know if you're complying because the definition is so murky.
Which is exactly why the US standard, the Howey test, is still such a global touchstone.
The old, reliable. If you hear investment contract, you should be thinking Howey.
You should. It defines a security as 1, an investment of money, 2, in a common enterprise, with 3, profits to come solely from the efforts of others.
And that test has been so critical for crypto.
It really has. It's why things like Bitcoin or Ether, in their decentralized forms, generally aren't considered securities. The expectation of profit isn't coming from central management. It's from the network effects, from adoption.
And then you have utility tokens, access to a service like cloud storage or something.
And those usually fall under consumer protection law. Your goal is consumption, not investment. You want to use the service.
But those lines just get completely erased when you throw in celebrity promotions and alleged market manipulation. The Ethereum Max or Emacs case is just a perfect storm of this.
A vivid example, yes. You had plaintiffs accusing the executives, and then these huge promoter defendants, people like Kim Kardashian, Floyd Mayweather, of deceptive marketing.
And one of the core allegations was about pure market manipulation. One of the execs, Justin Marr, was accused of wash trading. Can you break that down?
Wash trading is essentially fake trading. It's where someone is on both sides of the transaction, buying and selling the same asset to create the illusion of high volume and market interest.
So he was allegedly doing this to pump up the price and create fake momentum.
That's the accusation. And then it got worse when the price started to crash. He apparently told investors not to sell, saying something like, "I didn't sell a penny. In fact, I dumped 25K at the bottom."
Claiming he was holding on, buying more even.
Yes, a major legal problem. He's allegedly encouraging others to hold or buy while completely misleading them about what was really happening. And at the same time, you have the celebrity promotions giving this false impression that someone like Mayweather was a true backer, an investor.
When he was really just a paid endorser.
Correct.
So that's just classic emotional manipulation layered on top of the market manipulation.
It's the whole package. And that's why the legal claims didn't just rely on complicated securities law. They often used simpler state consumer fraud acts.
So the question shifts from, is this thing a security, to, did you lie to people to get their money?
Exactly. It can be a much easier case to prove. Was there a deceptive marketing campaign? Just look at the mountain of misleading statements.
Which brings us to the next big question. When you do identify fraud, how do governments hold the corporations accountable, not just the individuals running the show?
Right, and that's where the system has had to evolve. We've seen the rise of what you could call the non-conviction settlement.
Things like the Deferred Prosecution Agreement, the DPA in the US, or the CGIP in France.
Exactly, the Convention Judiciaire d'Intérêt Public. They're basically corporate plea deals. They let you sanction a huge company with massive fines without the crippling consequences of a formal criminal conviction.
So the goal isn't to shut the company down, which could cause chaos, but to correct the behavior.
That's a huge driver. A formal conviction can get a company debarred from public contracts or from operating in financial markets. It can be a corporate death sentence. The DPA and CJIP offer a path to clean up the act without triggering a total collapse.
And the fines can be just staggering. The French CJIP can levy penalties up to 30% of a company's average annual sales.
They're designed to be a serious deterrent, but this created international friction, especially with the European principle of non bis in idem reo.
The rule against double jeopardy, being punished twice for the same crime.
Right. If a company paid a huge DPA fine in the US, could France come after them for the exact same conduct? It was a legal nightmare for multinationals.
How do they solve that?
Well, it was partially addressed by the U.S. Department of Justice's Rosenstein Memorandum back in 2018. It basically discouraged piling on. It told U.S. prosecutors to coordinate with foreign authorities to avoid duplicative penalties.
So better global teamwork.
An attempt at it, yes.
It's clear that classifying and enforcing all this is a massive job. But the courts themselves, the judges, play such a huge role in pushing these boundaries. We have to talk about judicial gatekeepers, specifically Judge Alfred P. Goodwin.
Judge Goodwin is a perfect case study in how the law adapts on the fly. He became known for taking on these new, novel types of fraud, and he showed that a law is only as strong as a judge willing to interpret it.
And his most famous case involved Glenn Turner's marketing scheme, Dare to Be Great.
Sometimes called Dare to Be Greedy. Turner was this larger-than-life character. The son of a sharecropper, he'd fly around in a Learjet wearing $1,000 cowboy boots, selling motivational tapes.
Wait, a Learjet and $1,000 cowboy boots while selling motivational tapes. That detail alone tells you everything about the sheer audacity of these schemes.
It really does, and his scheme was so novel that it was almost slipping through the cracks of the existing definition of security.
So what did Goodwin do?
To make sure federal courts could shut it down, he just stretched the definition. He deliberately classified the scheme as a security. He admitted later he had to stretch a point a little bit, but he felt it was necessary to stop what was clearly massive fraud.
So he used the spirit of the law, not just the strict letter.
Precisely. And he did it again later. In 1989, his opinion in a case called Hawking v. Dubois held that even the resale of a condo, if it was combined with an optional rental pool agreement, could be a security.
Wow, so that brought securities law right into real estate.
It massively expanded its application. It just confirmed his willingness to adapt the law to fight new ways of structuring fraudulent deals.
Okay, so what does this all mean? If you pull it all together, this deep dive shows that the legal system has these very rigorous tests, right? Koscot for schemes, Howey for investments, the struggle for equivalence in Europe.
But those tests alone are often not enough when fraud moves so fast. You need judges like Goodwin who are willing to be elastic, and you need new enforcement tools like DPAs and CJIPs to handle things at a corporate scale.
So the law is just locked in this permanent race with financial invasion.
It always has been.
And that leaves me with this final thought. You know, so many of these old categories, they rely on traditional ideas, like a centralized company or the efforts of others. So you might consider this, as digital assets get even more decentralized, and there's no single promoter to blame, who do you even sue?
A very good question.
Does the law need a totally new definition of investment? One that focuses on the whole community's collective risk, not just one person's effort. As the systems get smarter, the legal solutions had to get smarter too.